Okay, so I'm adding a couple of things into the game now. We're going to add a GameOver panel script first off, which is going to have a text, which is going to say text. And then we also want to have this a init, and we want to have it with a string. We'll give it an enum. So I'm going to say public enum GameOver panel type, and we're going to say it's a lose and a win. And then what I want to do is switch on that. And if it's a lose, you're going to say text dot text, and we'll just do this temporarily as game over, no more moves available. And otherwise, you want to say text dot text equals no more levels. Great job. Check back soon. That's easy, right? And then on the UI script, we're going to have a public GameOver script called GameOver script. Swap it out with this panel. GameOver script dot set active, which so this is dot game object. Let's set active to false. Same thing here. And we probably have to do the same thing here. This is my game over. So here I want to call game over type. And all I want to say here is my game over script game object dot set active to true. And then game over script dot set, or it's called init game over panel type. That's going to raise one more error here. So this is going to say end of game loss. Okay. Now the other thing is when I look at my board is out of moves, I'm looking for each one of my pieces, but we also want to check the purchasable pieces. So on the board, this is being invoked from here. And on this one, I want to take a couple of different pieces. I want this if it is out of moves here and it is out of moves on my UI script.draw, this is called draws, and draw script. And this is a draw container script dot draws. But you'd also have to check to see, I don't really want that. I kind of want it to be like you've got to be on top of it. So if you don't manage your draws successfully, then that's the end. Okay. So let's continue on with our notifications. If I looked back at my floating text container, I should have a prefab called floating text. And here it is. It's pretty straightforward right now. We need to change this now. So on my floating text, I want to have a couple of different things that I could create here. One's going to be a text. So on here, we have the text box. So this needs to be on the parent. Which means I can get rid of this. And then this. And then this. And what I want to have is a collection on it of things. So we're going to change the name of this to be called floating item script. And then I'm going to make another one. And I want to call it floating item text script. And in this is just going to be a text box. Or, I'm sorry, it's called a Text Mesh Pro UGUI. Call this my text box. And this needs to inherit floating item script. And then we do our awake. We're going to grab this, and this is now a override. And we want to do a base.awake. No rec transform. And that's it. Now, it's actually just a base mono behavior. And on here, I want to say a public virtual void set text. Hey there, Link4Hunter. How are you doing? The chat is a little bit quiet. How are you? We can spice it up, get some convo going. Textbox.text is equal to text. And we want to make this a virtual like that. There is no more of this dispose. So over on my floating item, I want to have a public floating item text script called my floating item text prefab. We need to have another one called floating item image script. Second here, hold on, I'm thinking. And this one, we're going to do it a little different. I want to have a image here called my image, and then a text mesh pro u GUI for my text box. And this is going to be set image and text, and this is going to be a sprite, which is called sprite. And then down here, I want to say my image.sprite is equal to sprite, and then my text box.text is text. And then finally, we can get rid of this up here. And on the floating item text script. We want to change this to be public. And then finally on the floating item, I want to have another one here for my item image. And then we want to have one for the floating item script array called floating items. Pretty good. Spent a lot of money on a bicycle tools today. That sounds fun. What kind of bikes do you ride? Like outdoors? I'm imagining it's not on like in a gym, like a mountain bike or a speed bike or a BMX bike. And so here, when you're setting your floating text, we also want to have I want this to be a number of rewards. So we're going to do this as a reward SO, rewards. Okay. So now what I want to do is for each var reward in rewards, I want to switch on it. So let's say it's a case reward SO called lines. Well, for this one, I want to say we're going to instantiate a new floating item text prefab at my transform. And then we're going to add a new floating items list here. Like that. And this is a we'll just put this as base mono behavior. And then we're going to do a floating items equals your floating items dot to array. Just a normal city bike. I wanted to fix it. That sounds nice. Are you going riding today? And now here, I want to set this thing to be my var reward lines SO. And we want to do the init on it, or the set text, which is my and I want to say plus reward lines SO dot this is a reward dot, so it's a C dot number of lines like that. And then you're going to add that to your reward lines SO. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again here with a colors. And then we're going to do a set text image and set image and text. And I'm going to do this as a Now what I want to do here is I want to get a scriptable object factory.create instance of a block SO of type reward colors SO.block color. Nope, it's a C.block color. So this is a quantity of colors, a reward type, and points are on it. We're also going to set a block color on here to make it easier. Okay. And so now I can just get my C.block color. And then I can set my block.sprite. And then also the text, which is going to be plus, and then my quantity and then it's going to be the image. So on both of these, we want to have another one for my total, points total. Like that. And then the same thing on this one. Hey, Crystallizes, thank you so much for that subscription. How are you doing? It's been quite a long time. I saw you out here a little bit ago, but I very much appreciate that. How goes it today? Appreciate the support. If you have any questions on the game or anything you want to see in the game, let me know. We can throw it in. Let's set my this.pointstotal.text equal to pointstotal.text. .toString. Yeah, I'm just normally lurking, pretty busy with work and university. It's awesome though. It's awesome you're still hanging out, lurking, being a part of the community. I always appreciate that. And here my points total is going to be reward lines so.points. Nope, it's going to be my c.points, like that. And then this one's going to be my c.points, capital. You want to have one more for my reward gems so, called var reward gems so equals instantiate a floating item image prefab on my transform. And we're going to get the gem here as a scriptable object factory.get gem so of my c.gem type. And then we want to do reward gems so.set image to my gem.sprite. The money sign for these two things, we want to do a plus c dot quantity gems, and then the c dot points. Oh, and then your c dot quantity gems. And you want to do that times your gem dot points or something like that. Let's even ignore this, and we're just going to say times a multiplier, and here we want to say the c dot point modifier, and then here we want to do the we're going to do one more of these, and we're going to have it with no points total. And so this one can just do a set image and set, which is the sprite and the text, set image and text. I see you moved on to a new game. How did the rest of your past release go? There is no turning back. It's done. It's available on Android and Steam. I'll probably put it on iOS at some point. And then give that a try if you want. If you can check out the website, pixelhorrorstudios.com. I went through and revamped all the projects. So the monitor has been completed. OpenDJ Radio has been revamped. The Pixel Horror Studios site has been updated. I still have to update some of my social media stuff. And the only other project remaining to audit is Alley Chat. We took this as a quick side project. And that's sort of where we're at. So most everything has been published, and I have lots of documentation up for all the different things. There we go. That looks good. Thank you there, Fallen Hope. So just like this. And now when I look at my reward gems, I also want to have a gem type. Ta-da. Okay. We're going to set here the sprite and then do a break. And then we're going to add the floating item here. Set them and then start your animation coroutine. Okay, so apparently my site is down, so that's an easy fix. So that's definitely strange that that happened. I should have checked it this morning, but I didn't. Sorry about that. So we're going to go to my Amazon Web Services. And this is concerning because this has been happening ever since I switched over to Docker. It happens from time to time. I'm not sure what, because I thought I cleared everything out that could have done it. And as soon as these instances start back up, we'll be good. Your dog wants to join the stream. I know, she's just a barking fool. Okay, give it just a second. It'll only take a second for all those containers to start back up, and then I need to set up some kind of notification so I get like a SMS message when the monitor detects that it's off. So in here, my properties are going to be a block color of I and a gem type of I. Okay, it's almost back up. You can see everything is just starting up here with its 29, 30 instances. It needs to get all the way up. And now here in my floating text container script, I want to pass in here the rewards SO called rewards. And then we should have another error. I'm going to have to go fix the dog. Okay, and then the other error is here. Is we want to set this to be a reward SO called rewards, which gets set from here at that position, and then I want to add here my args dot this is a line, so the reward is on the lines. The problem here is I want to do a for each var item in args.lines. I want to set this floating text so item.block position, and then my args I want to use as item.rewards. And that should do it. So now we're going to build those objects. So in here, let's first start with floating text container. And that looks fine. And now this is our floating text. It needs to have my two different prefabs in it. So let's open this up as a prefab. And currently I just have a text box, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to create one new game object here, and I'm going to say that this is a floating text image, and then just floating text. And on this one, we want to add a text mesh pro called text. And we'll put this thing as a Gotham in the middle here at size 18, or let's say 22. And then I want to add on here a floating item text script, which has this text box. It's going to need another one for the points. And then we want to have a horizontal layout group here. Which is determined by the size of it. Cool. So on the width, we'll put this at like 200. We can drop the size of these two text boxes to be down to be like 18. We want this one to say +3 lines. And then when we want this one to say 200. Okay, we can reduce the height of this whole thing drastically. And then put this in the middle center. And I think that's it. So we'll add that to UI. And I can get rid of this here and add my floating text there. The next one is this floating text image. Let's just take this, unpack it. Change out this component here to be a floating text image. I want to add in here a new UI image in between these two. And I'll use like a sprite of like this diamond, which is preserve the aspect ratio. Why is that not clipped? All right, so now we can change these settings here, so I can change the width of all this stuff. Okay, let's go back. So that looks fine. Now if I was to change these things so that it doesn't change that size anymore, we put in this diamond with some space, and I want to preserve the aspect ratio. We can make it just a little bit wider. $215. And we want this to, actually we could go back. I'm going to change this to be +3, just like that. And then we'll distribute everything evenly. And then in the image, I can add in the one that we want. Okay, and that's our floating text image. So we have a text box, points total, and an image. And then on floating text, we can add in the image. Now, if I was to have multiple of these things, what I need on this is to have a vertical layout group, which starts in the, which starts in the center, which starts on the middle left, I find that interesting that these ones want a width of 0 and these ones want the width of 200. Because they want to match this. And this one changes the size, and this one doesn't. So let's look at these two things again. And in my text, I'm going to add another one of here, which is going to be called lines. And this is just going to say lines. And that looks fine. And this one, we'll leave this the same. It doesn't like when I do that because it thinks the picture is much larger than it is. Right? And so now the width is set at 200. Everything is starting on the middle left. We do want this to control both sizes. In my floating text image, I want to take away a little of the width on the left and add a little width to this. Why don't we change all of these so that none of them are set? So we'll look at this one here first. And I want to set this thing to be I'm doing a security course. No worries, man. And then this is a, we'll get rid of these two. And this one we want to set to be like 45. We want to set this one to be like 100. Say 80. And then the other one to be 75. And now we'll do the same thing for the images. So what were the numbers? 45. 80. And then 75. So now in floating text, we can delete all of these. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That looks much better. And now we do want to have one more box at the very end of this. We can just duplicate this one, unpack it, and set this to be floating text total. This one only wants this, and we're going to set the width to be 200. The only thing it's going to say is plus 2,000 total something like that. And then on this one, I want to say that we want to have a this one is only setting one of the properties, so this is the other kind, so we'll fix that later. And then we also want to have a floating image text script. We'll just leave it like this for now. Let's just get this thing working. Now I was expecting this to automatically change the height. And then we can delete all of these things because we don't need them anymore. And jump back to our actual app. Delete our floating text. And let's see what happens. At least your community cares about security. Your company cares about security, says Crystallizes. That's true. That's always a good thing. Oh yeah, I mean, it's mandatory for all the IT folks. It's just funny that all things discussed in said course don't actually happen because we have so many layers in our company that I have to wait for one team who needs approval from another team that has to assess everything, and then they come to me and ask me to explain what I've already explained. It's secure, but it is not the most fun. I hear you, man. I know a little bit of that pain. I've worked at large companies before, and it becomes very bureaucratic. I don't know if that's the right word, but you have to work more with the people than with the subject matter. So we're going to add a GameOver panel here with my GameOver text and put that on my canvas here. Okay. So now, when we get a line, looks like I got something that came up. Try that again. Okay, when I look at this, it does look like it made all three things. It made the lines. It gave me that this was +7, but I didn't get anything for it. And then for my 2 gems, so let's leave those ones out for now. If my C dot points is greater than 0, then you want to do this. And here you want to say if your multiplier is greater than 0, is greater than 1. And now what I want to look at is what happened with the actual animation itself. First off, we're going to look at this in the real time. Drop this floating text container on it. And now drop on this image, this text. The first thing I notice is that I want to change the height of these to be like 20. So let's get rid of these again and just add them back in. And if I look at floating text, I want this to actually start at 0. Okay. We can probably change the size of this whole thing to be like 0.6 of its whole original size. %, not bad. Not bad at all. Well done. And now when I look at this floating text, it should have an animator on it. I think I can just play the animation directly. And you can see what it's upset at me about is all of the properties changed. Because before I was only changing one element, not the whole thing. So, I got to change in my floating text. We need to have a game object for my layout. And we're going to bring this vertical layout onto it. Layout, we want to spread this across the whole thing that we've created the size of. And this is what I want to instantiate those items onto. So we want to have a public transform layout. So your animator is here. And when I look at my action, the first thing I want to do is I want to turn on the layout group. And I want it to start here at now for the layout group, I really need this to start in the middle. And the reason is so I can adjust the position Y of it. So here, I had an event which was fading everything in. I could still theoretically do that. But when I get here, I want to start moving this up. So now if I look at the curve on that, it's not exactly what I was hoping for. I want to come up to like that. Then we'll go up pretty fast. And then we'll kind of like curve it back down at the end. I could do it something like this. Where it initially starts pretty quick. I don't like this. Where it initially starts pretty quick and then it starts to die off. So like that. I think that works. And then on the idle, the only thing I want to do is turn off the layout group. So we can delete these 3-4 things now. Jump back into my game view. Jump out of this is backwards, isn't it? Game goes on the bottom, scene goes on the top, animation goes on the bottom. And now I can delete these. And I can delete this. And let's see what happens now. one line. Plus one line. So it's adding it each time, but what it's not doing is getting rid of the previous one. So on my floating item script, it's because I'm using a pool manager. See all my floating texts in here? So when this floating text script ends and you put this back in the pool, I want to, for each item in my floating items, I want to destroy the item.gameObject, the item, and then I want to do a floating items.clear. We'll run it again. Okay, it should just tell me one line, and it does. It should tell me one line only, and it does. Let's try to get a gem on one, or 2 gems. Plus 1 lines. So I don't think it cares about little gems, right? It only cares about the, is that right? Just a second. Gems 2. Oh, it's because I turned these off. So it was looking at colors. So let's add this one. We have another one of these things that we need to add in. Come on, computer. Call it, let's add in a floating text here and add in a image and a text and a text. And then this one, we're going to make another script. And it's just going to be a floating item gems. We're going to call it multiplier script. And that's just going to have this one text box. Actually, no, we want it to have a text box, a image, and a text mesh pro GUI for the quantity. So we're going to set this one, and the quantity. So this is the same thing as the other one. But you want the prefab to be slightly different. So in here, We'll use this one. And I'll make a variation of it. And we can do it as a prefab variant. And so now in this, we're going to change this to be a times 2.5 or something like that. Let's do it where we have we want this to say +3 and then have that picture and then have our points be like a times 2.5. So it's nothing different. So back in here, we're going to set the plus c.quantity gems and then our c.multiplier. And we'll have one more of these where this is a float. And that should do it. Okay, we need to fix our prefab here. Try it again. One line. Try it again. Should get one line. Interesting, that didn't work. It kind of worked. Try it again. This time we're going to catch it. It's because this is the wrong transform. Plus one line. Plus one line plus two, so it didn't erase it. Plus one line. Plus one line. This is probably going to die right here. No, it's going to want me to put this line in and then die. Let's try again. Yeah, that one worked. So it needs to have the money sign times this multiplier. Sorry, that gets done in here. And we're going to change this to be the multiplier. Like that. And that should be it. That should complete our initial run through of game features on it. We still need to add in multiplayer as well as the central menu. Need to dial in some of the single player settings and then solidify the game on single player. Our placement of that, we're going to change on my floating text container. You're doing this with a rect transform anchors. And this is being set over here from my block position. And that gets set here, position of that line. Which means you want to do this at the new vector 2 of the block position dot y, and our x is going to be right in the middle of the board. So we want to do a game dot round current dot board size dot x divided by 2. So now that's always putting it right in the center, right? Which I like. I don't like that it's going behind the text. Or behind the UI there. But one of the things that I wanted to change was the I wanted to put it back like this. Like that. And now we need to set all of the rewards on it. So what I want to do is I want to go for each var item in args.lines. Can I do this all in one statement and do a args.lines.forEach? And I actually just want to select the lines. The rewards. So this is now an enumerable of rewards. So you could do a lines.list.toList.forEach, and then we could do a x.rewards.forEach. And then I could do this as a var rewards total equals a new list of reward SO. And then we could add this to the T. And then these are all of our rewards here. Cool. Let's test something where we put a floating text on my floating text container. I add in a floating text image on the layout and a text and another image. And now on my animator, I were to play it. Okay, if I move my text up and try it again, when I look at the scene, it looks like that's on top. It is. So that's good. Let's try one more time. Let's tweak some of the settings now. So in our boards, we're going to say that this goes to, starts at 10:10, 12:12, 12:12, 12:12, 14:14, 16:16. That's good. The number of lines should be 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. We'll just start with that. And then if I look at my blocks, those all look right. Multiplier per instance, we're not using those. Or the points per. Block gems, those all look good. Hey Greg, how are you, buddy? It's been some time. Welcome back to the chat. These are the color chances. I think these are all set. Yep, those are all good. Draw pieces are fine. Gem chances are what needs to get set. Pieces are good, rewards are good, and rounds are good. I'll show you, Greg. Right after we get off stream. Because they're in progress at the moment. Now, when I look at these, I need to open up in Excel. Pixel Studios, projects, Gem Wars. We're going to open up the documentation and take a look at these percentages. So this is how we determine the percentages for the tiers. So I'm going to call this colors, and then I'm going to make another one in here, and I'm going to call it gems. And how I currently have it is I have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5, and tier 6. And then I have rounds. 1, 2, 3. You always just tell me about them. Don't worry, bro. I'll show you right after. Okay. And then when I look at these gem chances, we have 0.1, 0.08, and then all zeros. 0.14. 0.11, 0.08, okay, and then a bunch of zeros. The next one is 0.23, 0.16, 0.08, and then a bunch of zeros. And then we have a 0.14, 0.11, 0.08, and that's it. So these are not good. So we're going to start here and say that we're going to go 14 like that. We're going to drop this one up to be 0.1, 0.2, this to be 0.02. Now we can drop this back down to 0.16. This one will go up to 0.2. This one will go up to 1.2, and then 0.8 and 0.02. And then this one is 0.02. And then we're going to say that it's 0.08, 0.02, 0.08, 0.14. Okay, and then there's a reason for this. I'll show you when we graph it. this one. Okay, so when I look at this, Tier 6 has a real slow incline. Tier 5 only begins to start to climb at here, and we want it to go up as far as 0.14 and then 0.18. On 4, this is 0.08 and then 0.13, 0.12, and then we'll do 0.18, 0.21, 0.17, it goes up kind of high, 0.17 there, and then all the way back down to 0.01, 0.1. So it kind of peaks, right? We want to do that for the other two here. So on 1, we want it to peak up at 0.2, 0.22, then we want to drop back down to 0.18, 0.14, 0.11, 0.08, 0.04, and 0. See what I'm doing here? I'm cycling them. So this next one, 0.22, 0.19, 0.15, 0.1, 0.06. And then our last one here, it's going to go to 0.12. See how that looks? So this needs to go a little bit higher, 0.14, 0.2, no, 0.18, 0.22, 0.16, no, that's too drastic, 0.17, 0.15, and then 0.11. And that's our gem chart. So we're going to say that this is gem frequency. And now we're going to translate that into the game. So we go tier 1, 0.1, 0.08, and then 4 zeros. The next one is 0.14, 0.11, 0.08, 3 zeros. 0.2, 0.16, 0.01, oh, sorry, 0.1, 0.02. And so for this one, we're going to say that this thing can change like that. Okay, this one is round 4. So for that one, let me fix my mic. Okay, round 4 is 0.22, 0.02, oh, 0.2, 0.14, 0.08, 0 and 0. Halfway done. Okay, we're on 5. That's going to be 0.18, 0.22, 0.18, 0.12. $18.2, 22, 18, 12. Okay, for 6, we're at 0.11, 0.19, 0.22, 0.18, 0.02. And we'll add in here my 1% fluctuation. Okay, 7 is 0.08. 0.15. 0.17. 0.21. 0.08, 0.02. Okay, 8, which is our second to last one, 0.04, 0.1, 0.15, 0.17, 0.14, and 0.08. And all of these need to be at 1% here. And then the last one is 0, 0.06, 0.11, 0.1, 0.18, 0.14. That's it. We can give this thing a test now. Everything should be working fine now. We should be able to play a good long game because the board should stay increasing. We still don't have a leaderboard or anything, but we can add all that in this week. I think we've scrubbed out most of the bugs now. Not that one. So we'll just have to mock that, I think, and test it to get it fixed. See, same thing. There. When I look at my floating text container, it's not putting the gems on the right parent. Right here. Now it's fixed. So let's jump into Git. Let's push this out and say completed adding combos, bonuses, modifiers, and floating texts. And commit that and push it out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push this game out, and I'm going to put it up on pixelhorrorstudios.com for testing. It's not quite ready yet to go out on the Google Play Store. I want to make sure that I have at least leaderboard in there and a main menu, authentication, and at least something that shows that we're going to add the multiplayer. I think we're going to add the multiplayer starting tomorrow. So thanks again for staying with me today. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into our chat, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Also, I put all these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Until tomorrow, guys, have a great rest of your day. Bye.